The store manager's face went completely white. His hands started trembling as he stared at the woman standing in front of him, the woman his employee had just humiliated and tried to throw out of the store. "Dr. Williams?" he whispered, his voice barely audible. Is that really you?" The sales clerk who had been so confident just moments ago now looked confused, panicked, even, because she was about to learn the most expensive lesson of her life. But let me take you back to where this all started. Just 40 minutes earlier, on what seemed like an ordinary Saturday morning. It was a beautiful Saturday morning in Beverly Hills, California. The sun was shining through the palm trees that lined Rodeo Drive, the kind of perfect Southern California morning that makes you forget all your troubles. The luxury stores were opening their doors, preparing for another day of serving the wealthy and famous. Inside those stores, everything gleamed, from the polished marble floors to the sparkling crystal chandeliers hanging from the ceilings. But this story isn't really about luxury or wealth. It's about dignity, about respect, and about how you should never, ever judge a person by their appearance. Meet Dr. Amara Williams. She was 42 years old, though she looked younger. A board-certified cardiac surgeon at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, one of the best hospitals in the country. Dr. Williams had just finished the kind of shift that would break most people. 36 hours straight, 3 emergency surgeries, a young mother with a heart defect, an elderly man who coded on the operating table but was brought back thanks to Dr. Williams's steady hands and quick thinking, and a teenager in a car accident who needed immediate intervention to survive. 3 lives saved in a single weekend. Dr. Williams was exhausted. Her feet ached. Her back was sore. Her eyes felt like sandpaper. She'd drunk so much coffee in the past day and a half that her hands had a slight tremor. But as she drove home that Saturday morning, something occurred to her. Her mother's birthday was next week. Her mother, Sarah Williams, was turning 70 years old, and Dr. Williams had been so busy saving lives that she'd completely forgotten to buy a gift. Her mother deserved something special. Something beautiful. Something that said, "Thank you for sacrificing so much to put me through medical school. Thank you for believing in me when I was the only Black woman in my surgical program. Thank you for teaching me to stand tall and never let anyone make me feel less than I am." So instead of going straight home to collapse into bed, Dr. Williams made a decision. She would stop at that beautiful boutique on Rodeo Drive, the one with the gorgeous silk scarves in the window. Her mother loved scarves. They made her feel elegant, she always said. Dr. Williams looked down at herself. She was still wearing her scrubs, comfortable blue medical scrubs with the hospital logo on the chest pocket. Her feet were in her cushioned sneakers, the ones she wore during long surgeries. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She wore no makeup. She looked exactly like what she was, a doctor who'd been working all night. She almost went home to change. But then she thought, why should I? I'm just buying a scarf. It'll take 10 minutes. That decision, that simple, innocent decision, was about to change several lives forever. The boutique was called Elegance. It wasn't a chain store. It was one of those exclusive boutiques that celebrities visited when they wanted something unique. The kind of place where a handbag could cost $10,000, where a simple silk scarf was $800. Dr. Williams had been there once before, about a year ago, and had been impressed by the quality and the service. She pushed open the heavy glass door and stepped inside. Immediately, she felt the cool air conditioning wash over her. The store smelled expensive, like leather and subtle perfume and new fabric. Classical music played softly in the background. There were only a few other customers in the store. A woman in her 70s, impeccably dressed, was looking at jewelry near the back. A younger couple was examining handbags. They looked like they belonged there. Dr. Williams walked slowly through the store, taking in the beautiful displays. Despite her exhaustion, she found herself smiling. There was something calming about beautiful things after the chaos of an emergency room. She made her way to the scarf display, and that's when she felt it. Eyes on her. She glanced to her left and saw a sales associate watching her. The woman was probably in her late 20s, blonde, wearing the store's uniform, a crisp black dress with a name tag that read Jennifer. Jennifer wasn't smiling. Dr. Williams had experienced this before, many times. That particular kind of look that said, "You don't belong here." That assessment that happened in seconds, based on nothing but appearance. She took a deep breath and turned back to the scarves, determined not to let it ruin her mood. The scarves were even more beautiful up close. Hand-painted silk, each one unique. She picked up a blue one with gold accents, sapphire blue, her mother's favorite color. It would look stunning with her mother's complexion. "Excuse me." Dr. Williams turned. Jennifer had approached, but she kept her distance as if afraid to get too close. "Yes," Dr. Williams said politely, holding the scarf. Jennifer's smile was tight, artificial. "Do you know how much that costs?" There was a pause, a heavy, loaded pause. Dr. Williams looked down at the scarf, then back at Jennifer. "Yes, I can see the price tag, $800, it's beautiful." Jennifer's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Right, well, I just wanted to make sure you were aware, we have some more reasonably priced stores down the street. Several blocks down, actually. I can give you directions if you'd like." The meaning was crystal clear. The code was understood. Jennifer was telling her, as politely as she could manage, "You can't afford anything here, you should leave." Dr. Williams felt a familiar heat rise in her chest. Not anger, not yet, but something deeper. Disappointment. Weariness. The exhausting reality of having to prove yourself worthy of basic respect. She just spent 36 hours saving lives. She made over $400,000 a year. She had a medical degree from Stanford. She owned her home in the Hollywood Hills outright. And here she was, being told she didn't belong in a clothing store. But Dr. Williams had learned, through years of experience, that dignity was more powerful than anger. She smiled, a genuine, calm smile. "I appreciate your concern, but I'm quite certain I'm in the right place. I'd like to purchase this scarf. And I'd also like to look at your handbag collection. I believe I saw a lovely cognac leather bag in the window." Jennifer's jaw tightened. She glanced over at another employee, a young man, probably the assistant manager based on his demeanor, and gave him a meaningful look. "Our handbags," Jennifer said slowly, as if speaking to someone who didn't understand English, "start at $5,000. Many are $10,000 or more. I just don't want you to be surprised when you see the prices." "I won't be," Dr. Williams said evenly. "And I'm afraid," Jennifer continued, her voice gaining confidence, that we have a policy about customers who aren't serious about purchasing. We're a high-end boutique, not a museum. We can't have people just browsing and handling merchandise they don't intend to buy. Dr. Williams felt something shift inside her. This wasn't just about class assumptions anymore. This was racial profiling, plain and simple. "I see," she said quietly. "And how do you determine who's a serious customer and who isn't?" Jennifer's cheeks flushed slightly. "Experience. Years of working in luxury retail." "I understand," Dr. Williams said. "And in your experience, a black woman in scrubs couldn't possibly afford an $800 scarf." The words hung in the air like smoke. Jennifer's mouth opened, then closed. "I didn't say anything about, that's not what I—" "Actually," a new voice interrupted, sharp and clear, "that's exactly what you said." Both women turned. The elderly white woman who'd been looking at jewelry had walked over. She was probably in her mid-70s, with silver hair styled perfectly, wearing what was clearly a designer outfit. Diamonds glinted at her ears and throat. This was someone who spent a lot of money in stores like this. "I've been watching this entire exchange," the woman said, her voice cold with disapproval. "And I am appalled, absolutely appalled." Jennifer's face went pale. "Mrs. Fletcher, you were just profiling this young woman based on her appearance," Mrs. Fletcher said. "I heard every word. You assumed she couldn't afford to shop here because of how she's dressed, or perhaps because of the color of her skin. Which is it, Jennifer?" "Neither, I would never." "You just did," Mrs. Fletcher said flatly. "I heard you." Dr. Williams felt a surge of gratitude toward this stranger who was standing up for her, but she also felt uncomfortable. She didn't need to be defended. She could handle this herself. "Thank you," Dr. Williams said to Mrs. Fletcher. "I appreciate your support, but I can—" Jennifer, perhaps feeling cornered, made the worst decision of her life. She raised her voice. "Mark!" she called to the assistant manager. "Mark, can you come here, please? We have a situation." The assistant manager, Mark, hurried over. He was in his early 30s, wearing a well-tailored suit. He looked nervous, glancing between Jennifer, Dr. Williams, and Mrs. Fletcher. "What's going on?" he asked quietly. Jennifer spoke quickly, her voice louder than necessary. "This woman is making other customers uncomfortable. She's handling expensive merchandise without any intention of purchasing, and she's being difficult when I try to help her." Several other customers had stopped what they were doing. They were watching now. The whole store had gone quiet except for the classical music still playing softly overhead. Dr. Williams felt every eye in the store on her. She was acutely aware of how she must look, tired, in scrubs, being accused of something by two store employees while other customers watched. This was humiliation. Public, deliberate humiliation. Mark looked uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. He could see what was happening. He could see that this was wrong, but Jennifer was his colleague, and she was insistent. "Ma'am," Mark said to Dr. Williams, his voice apologetic but firm, "maybe it would be best if you came back another time, perhaps when you're more prepared to make a purchase." The words were like a slap. Dr. Williams looked at him steadily. "Prepared? I'm prepared right now. I came here to buy a gift for my mother. I found what I wanted. I'm ready to pay. What exactly should I be more prepared for?" Mark shifted his weight. "I just think You just think I should leave, Dr. Williams finished for him. Because of how I'm dressed, or because of the color of my skin, which is it, Mark? It's not about that, Mark said quickly. Then what is it about? Mark had no answer. Jennifer, however, wasn't done. Look, we have the right to refuse service to anyone, and I'm saying that we're refusing service to you. You need to leave. Now, Mrs. Fletcher gasped. Jennifer, you cannot be serious. I'm completely serious, Jennifer said, her voice shaking slightly but resolute. This is a private business. We can decide who we want as customers, and we don't want customers who come in here looking like they just came from. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. Dr. Williams stood very still. She'd been called names before. She'd been profiled before. She'd been underestimated and dismissed and doubted countless times in her career. But this, being asked to leave a store because of how she looked, after spending a day and a half saving lives, she felt something inside her harden. I see, she said quietly. So this is your final position? You're asking me to leave? Yes, Jennifer said. Mark looked like he wanted to sink through the floor, but he nodded. I think it would be best. Dr. Williams carefully placed the blue scarf back on the display. Her hands were steady despite everything. All right, she said. I'll leave. But I want both of your names, and the name of the general manager, because I will be filing a formal complaint about this treatment. Jennifer actually laughed, a short, nervous laugh. Go ahead, file whatever you want. We didn't do anything wrong. You think humiliating a customer in public isn't wrong? We think asking someone to leave who doesn't belong here is just good business, Jennifer said. Those words, doesn't belong here, echoed through the store. That's when they heard a door open in the back of the store. And a voice called out, "What the hell is going on out here?" Everyone turned. A man emerged from the back office. He was in his 40s, Asian American, wearing an expensive charcoal suit. His face showed confusion and concern as he took in the scene, Jennifer and Mark standing together, Dr. Williams alone, Mrs. Fletcher looking furious, and several customers frozen mid-shopping. This was David Chen, the general manager of Elegance, the man who ultimately ran this store. I could hear raised voices from my office, David said, walking into the main floor. What's happening? Jennifer spoke first, her voice confident. Mr. Chen, I was handling a situation with a customer who... But David wasn't looking at Jennifer. He was looking at Dr. Williams. His expression changed. Confusion became recognition. Recognition became shock. Dr. Williams, he said, his voice suddenly soft with disbelief. Is that you? The store went completely silent. Dr. Williams looked at him, squinting slightly. There was something familiar about him, but she couldn't quite place it. She met so many people in her work, and right now, exhausted and humiliated, her mind was foggy. I'm sorry, she said. Do I know you? David walked closer, his face showing a mix of emotions, recognition, concern, and something like horror as he began to understand what had happened. You saved my father's life, he said simply. 3 months ago, he had a massive heart attack. You were his surgeon. Now Dr. Williams remembered. Mr. Chen, she said, your father is. How is he doing? He's alive because of you, David said, his voice cracked slightly. The other doctors said he wouldn't make it. His heart had stopped for too long. The damage was too severe. But you operated for 7 hours straight. You didn't give up on him. You brought him back. Jennifer's face had gone from confident to pale. Mark looked like he might be sick. David turned slowly to face his employees. "Tell me," he said, his voice dangerously quiet, "that you did not just try to throw out the woman who saved my father's life." Jennifer opened her mouth, but no words came out. David looked at Dr. Williams, taking in her scrubs her exhausted appearance. "Were you working?" he asked gently. 36-hour shift, Dr. Williams said. "Just finished." "I stopped here on my way home to buy a birthday gift for my mother. I didn't have time to change." David closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, they were hard as stone. He turned to Jennifer. "What happened? And I want the truth, every word." Jennifer found her voice. I was just trying to protect the store's interests. She came in wearing scrubs and I assumed." "You assumed what?" David's voice was like ice. "That she couldn't afford anything here," Jennifer said, the words coming out in a rush now. "I was trying to save her from embarrassment. I was trying to prevent a situation where she picked something out and then couldn't pay for it. I was just doing my job." "Your job," David said slowly, "is to assist customers. Your job is to provide excellent service to everyone who walks through that door. Your job is not to judge people based on their clothing." "But how was I supposed to know she's a doctor?" Jennifer said desperately. "She looked like, she was dressed like." "Like what?" Mrs. Fletcher spoke up, her voice sharp. "Like a medical professional, like someone who works for a living. Jennifer, I've been shopping in this store for 20 years. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars here. And I'm telling you right now, if this is how you treat people, I will never shop here again." Jennifer's eyes filled with tears. "Mrs. Fletcher, please, you were just being a bigot," Mrs. Fletcher said flatly. "There's no other word for it. This woman walked in wearing scrubs, the uniform of someone who saves lives, and you decided she didn't belong, and we all know why." David turned to Mark. "And you, what's your excuse?" Mark's voice was barely a whisper. "I knew it was wrong. I should have stopped it. I'm sorry." "Sorry?" David's voice rose. "You're the assistant manager. You're supposed to show leadership. You're supposed to protect customers from discrimination. And instead, you went along with it." He turned back to Jennifer. "What's my father's name?" Jennifer blinked, confused by the question. "What?" "My father's name. The man Dr. Williams saved. What is it?" I don't know." "James Chen," David said. "His name is James Chen. He's 73 years old. He was a plumber for 40 years, worked with his hands his whole life. And 3 months ago, he had a heart attack while installing a sink in someone's home. He collapsed. He died, Jennifer. His heart stopped. The paramedics got it started again, but barely. The damage was catastrophic." David's voice thickened with emotion. "I got the call at work. I rushed to the hospital. They told me to prepare myself. They told me to say goodbye. They said even if he survived the surgery, he'd likely have permanent brain damage from the oxygen deprivation." He pointed at Dr. Williams. "But this woman, she didn't give up. She spent 7 hours operating, 7 hours of delicate, precise work. And when I saw my father open his eyes the next day, when I heard him say my name," David had to stop. He took a breath, composing himself. "He's home now. He's walking. He's talking. He's playing with his grandchildren. He has his life back because of her." The store was absolutely silent except for David's voice. "So you tell me, Jennifer." You tell me how you could look at this woman, this incredible human being, and decide she didn't belong in a clothing store. Jennifer was crying now. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I didn't know, I didn't mean. You didn't know because you didn't ask, David said. You didn't know because you saw her skin color and her scrubs and you made a judgment. And in doing so, you revealed exactly who you are. He took a breath. You're fired, effective immediately. Collect your personal belongings and leave. Jennifer's face went white. Mr. Chen, please, I made a mistake. I can learn from this. Please give me another chance. I've given you 3 years of chances, David said. I've spoken to you before about your attitude toward certain customers. I've warned you about making assumptions, and you ignored me. So no, no more chances. You're done. He turned to Mark. You have 2 weeks to prove to me that you deserve to keep your position. One more incident, one more time you see something wrong and don't stop it, and you're done too. Understood? Mark nodded, looking shaken. Yes, sir, I understand. Jennifer walked toward the back, her shoulders shaking with sobs. The other customers watched her go, some looking uncomfortable, others nodding in approval. David turned to Dr. Williams. His face was full of remorse. Dr. Williams, I cannot apologize enough for what happened here today. What you experienced was inexcusable. Discriminatory, hateful, and it happened in my store under my management. He gestured around the boutique. Please, anything you want, anything at all, it's yours, free of charge. It's the least I can do to try to make this right. Dr. Williams shook her head gently. Mr. Chen, I appreciate the gesture, I really do, but I don't want anything for free. Please, David insisted. After what you've been through, I came here to buy a gift for my mother, Dr. Williams said firmly but kindly. And that's what I'm going to do, at full price. I don't want special treatment. I just wanted to be treated like every other customer. She walked back to the scarf display and picked up the blue and gold scarf again. This is perfect for her. I'll take it. David looked like he might argue, but something in Dr. Williams's expression stopped him. He understood. She was making a point. She didn't want pity or compensation. She wanted dignity. Of course, he said softly, I'll ring it up myself. As they walked to the counter, Mrs. Fletcher approached Dr. Williams. My dear, the older woman said, I'm so sorry for what happened to you, but I'm in awe of how you handled it. You showed such grace, such composure, I would have been furious. Dr. Williams smiled, though she looked more tired than ever. Oh, I am furious, Mrs. Fletcher. But being angry wouldn't have changed anything. Standing my ground calmly, refusing to be intimidated, that made the difference. Where did you learn such strength? Mrs. Fletcher asked. From my mother, Dr. Williams said. The woman I'm buying this scarf for. She taught me something important when I was young. She said, baby, people will always try to make you feel small. The world will try to tell you that you don't belong, that you're not good enough, that you should apologize for taking up space. But you listen to me, you walk into every room like you own it, not with arrogance but with dignity, because your presence is not something to apologize for, it's a gift. Dr. Williams's eyes glistened slightly. She taught me that dignity defeats discrimination every single time. Mrs. Fletcher impulsively reached out and squeezed Dr. Williams's hand. Your mother raised an extraordinary woman. Thank you, Dr. Williams said. I'll tell her you said so. David carefully wrapped the scarf in tissue paper and placed it in an elegant shopping bag with the store's logo. Dr. Williams, he said as he handed it to her. "I want you to know that this incident will lead to real change. I'm implementing mandatory training for all staff on unconscious bias and treating every customer with respect. No one should ever feel unwelcome in this store again." "I appreciate that," Dr. Williams said. "I hope you follow through." "I will," David promised. "And if you ever need anything, anything at all, please don't hesitate to call me. You saved my father's life. I will never forget that." Dr. Williams took the bag. "Your father is a good man. I remember him. He thanked every nurse, every technician, every person who came into his room. He was kind even when he was in pain. That's rare." "He learned that from my mother," David said. "She passed away 5 years ago, but she taught us to treat everyone with respect, no matter who they are or what they do." "Your mother and my mother would have gotten along," Dr. Williams said with a small smile. Dr. Williams left the store with her mother's gift. As she walked to her car, she felt the weight of the morning settling on her. The exhaustion from her shift, yes, but also the emotional toll of what had just happened. She sat in her car for a moment before starting the engine. Had she handled it right? Should she have been angrier? Should she have made more of a scene? No, she decided. She'd done exactly what her mother had taught her. She'd stood her ground with dignity. She'd refused to be dismissed. And in the end, justice had been served. But it shouldn't have taken David Chen recognizing her for justice to happen. That was the real problem. Jennifer shouldn't have profiled her in the first place. Mark shouldn't have gone along with it. Every customer in that store should have been treated with equal respect, whether they were a famous surgeon or someone just browsing. That's what dignity means. That's what respect means. Treating everyone as if they matter, because they do. Dr. Williams started her car and drove home. She took a long shower. She climbed into bed. And before she fell asleep, she texted her mother, "Just bought your birthday gift. You're going to love it. Can't wait to see you next week. Love you, Mama." Her mother texted back immediately, "Looking forward to it, baby. Get some rest. I love you too." Dr. Williams smiled and closed her eyes. She'd saved 3 lives in the past 36 hours. And in her own way, maybe she'd changed at least one more life that morning, even if that change was just teaching Jennifer a lesson she should have learned years ago. So what happened after that day? David Chen kept his promise. He implemented comprehensive training for all employees at Elegance. He brought in consultants who specialized in unconscious bias. He made it clear that discrimination of any kind would not be tolerated. The store's reputation actually improved. Word got around about how David had handled the situation, swiftly, decisively, fairly. Customers appreciated knowing that everyone would be treated with respect. Mark, the assistant manager, took the warning seriously. He never made that mistake again. In fact, he became an advocate for equality in retail, eventually writing an article about his experience that was published in several industry magazines. And Jennifer? She struggled at first. She tried to get work at other luxury stores, but her reputation preceded her. The retail world, especially in Beverly Hills, is smaller than you'd think. People talk. Eventually, she had to be honest with herself. She had been wrong. Not just wrong, she had been cruel. And that cruelty had cost her her career. But here's the thing about human beings. We're capable of change. Not everyone does change, but we're capable of it. Jennifer spent a year working in a completely different field, waiting tables, doing temp work, struggling. And during that year, she had time to think, to really examine her beliefs and behaviors. She eventually went back to school, got a degree in social work. And today, she works with underprivileged communities, helping people access resources they need. Did she become a perfect person? No, none of us are perfect. But she learned. She grew. And she dedicated her life to helping others rather than judging them. And Dr. Williams? She continued doing what she'd always done, saving lives. She gave her mother the scarf for her 70th birthday. Her mother cried when she opened it. Not because of the scarf itself, but because Dr. Williams told her the whole story. "Baby," her mother said, tears streaming down her face, "I'm so proud of you, not because you're a doctor, but because you're exactly who I raised you to be, strong, dignified, unshakable." Dr. Williams hugged her mother tight. "I learned from the best." This story teaches us something important. Never judge a person by their appearance. That person in scrubs might be a doctor who just saved 3 lives. That person in work clothes might be a millionaire. That person you're dismissing might be the most important person in the room. You simply don't know. But more than that, it shouldn't matter. Every person deserves to be treated with dignity and respect, not because of what they do or what they own or what they look like, but because they're human. Dignity is powerful. Dr. Williams could have screamed. She could have caused a scene. She could have demanded immediate retribution. But instead, she stood her ground calmly. She refused to be intimidated. She knew her worth, and that made all the difference. Actions have consequences. Jennifer thought she was protecting the store. Instead, she lost her job and damaged her reputation. One moment of prejudice cost her everything. So remember, treat everyone with respect. Always. Because you never know who you're really talking to. You never know whose life they've saved. You never know what they've been through. And most importantly, everyone deserves to be treated like they matter, because they do. If you were moved by this story, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more stories about dignity, justice, and the power of treating people with respect. And if you've experienced discrimination, or if you've witnessed it, share your story in the comments below. Let's start a conversation about how we can all do better, because change starts with each of us. One interaction at a time. One moment of choosing dignity over judgment. Thank you for watching. And remember, walk into every room like you belong there, because you do.